Hey, Brad Nickum, Tasting Tequila with Brad. Thanks for tuning into my video today. I wanted to talk about the differences in tequila. And I know a lot of us talk about additives. We talk about additive-free tequilas. But really, one of the main differences in a tequila like this one to a tequila like this one isn't always just about the additives. It's also about the production process and quality of the tequila that's made. When you look at the different ways that tequila is made, the agave plant is always the essential piece. Growing and a mature agave is one piece. And the way that the agave plant is harvested all by hand and brought from a field, the age of that agave plant, and not as much about the age as the maturity of the piña and the sugars that are involved. Then from there, how are they cooking that agave plant? How are they crushing or getting the sugars out of that agave plant? How are they fermenting it? How are they distilling it? And then how are they turning it into a great Blanco tequila or a Repo or an Añejo? And the main difference from the three in the middle to the two on the end is truly the process of manufacturing that tequila, the age of the agaves that they're using, and then how they turned that processed agave into a drinkable tequila. When you look at the differences between these guys, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not saying that it's something that you shouldn't enjoy. If you like this tequila or you're a Jose Cuervo fan, that's good. Drink what you like. You know, there's a lot of celebrities out there that have thrown a lot of money behind creating this great brand that people will drink and do the salt and the lime and shoot that tequila and have a great time. I'm all about a great time. But I'm also about tradition and authenticity. And when you see brands like the ones in the middle that are authentically made and traditional tequilas, to me, it brings a lot more of enjoying the product than having to cover up the taste with a salt or a lime and doing it in a shot. And mainly the difference is going to be the production method of the tequila. So there's several different ways of turning agave plants into tequila. Again, that agave plant's got to grow. And we like it to see that the tequila plants and like these guys where they're using 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old mature agaves versus some of these other brands that are utilizing just a couple-year-old agave. And the difference is going to be in the flavor profile of an older agave is going to bring more sugar. It's going to bring more of the flavors of the area that it was grown and that terroir versus these younger agaves. They're not going to have that same time in the sunshine to really create a flavor profile of the ground that they come from. Now, another thing that's important is the method that you're going to use to turn that agave plant into tequila. These guys, they're using a big product called a diffuser. And a diffuser is this massive machine that takes these young agaves and turns them into truly just an agave nectar. And then that nectar is what they're going to use to ferment and then also turn that into a distillate and make your product. Where these guys are going to use more of a traditional method of extracting the things from the agave plant that create fantastic tequila. In some cases, they're going to use a roller mill, which is a machine that's going to press the sugars and waters out of that agave plant to use that to go into the fermentation tank. Some products are going to use an older school method called a tahuna. And a tahuna is a big, giant volcanic wheel that it rolls around and slowly crushes the agave. And there's got to be workers there to push those fibers back in front of that wheel, to pull the fibers out of the area, to drain the waters out, and then usually do it a couple of more times to be able to extract enough sugars out of that to make it fermentable. And then there's also a process called a screw mill that is very similar. So the diffuser is a process that is extremely efficient. We can put tons of young agaves through this machine and create an agave nectar very fast, where a tahuna, a roller mill, or a screw mill are going to take a lot more personal hands-on work to extract that juice out of that agave plant, to put that into fermentation. So just in that place right there of pushing a whole bunch of agave through this high level manufactured system to create an agave nectar, or an authentic traditional way to press those juices out. Now, it's going to go into the same, fermentation process. These guys have to ferment it just like these guys do. Now, these smaller, traditional, authentic tequila companies are utilizing several methods in their fermentation. Maybe they're using an old pine tank and just open air fermentation. Maybe they're using some stainless steel tanks, but they're creating a proprietary yeast by creating it from the area or scraping the pincas to derive this yeast from their fields. Or maybe they're using a champagne yeast along with maybe some open fermentation and some Mozart music to make that yeast happy. There's a lot of different levels and different ways to create the fermentation process. And a lot of your flavor profiles are going to come from that fermentation. And all tequila has to be distilled 2 times. And in the cases of some of the bigger brands, they're going to utilize what's called a column still. And a column still is going to be able to distill that very quickly in different stages. And each stage of that column is considered another level of distillate. Where in this case, these guys are using a copper still, or maybe a stainless steel with copper coils, a much smaller batch still that's still going to be able to produce great tequila, but it's going to take a lot longer for them to produce it when the stills versus using a large column still. A column still is the same thing they make a lot of bourbons with, and it's also the same thing they make vodka with. And keep in mind, vodka doesn't really have to have a plant base to create it. So you're trying to distill the flavors out of vodka. And when you're taking tequila that is, not been cooked in the same way, maybe not been crushed in the same way, shoving it through column still, maybe you don't get the same traditional flavors that you have in these tequilas. And that's where those additives or those flavorings come in to give you a really high level of caramel or vanilla, or even in some cases cotton candy. But when you take these type tequilas and you taste the fact that you have so many flavors and it can be so different from each different distillery or different from one tequila to the other, it really lets you feel the process and taste the years of sunshine that it takes to grow that plant and the tradition that's behind it. So again, not against these guys. If you like them, drink them. If it brings you to tequila and you start enjoying the spirit, fantastic. But all I can say is give us tequila nerds a try. Try some of these traditional products. Don't just shoot them, lick the salt off your hand and swallow some lime to cover up the taste. If you're drinking great tequila, then you're going to enjoy the taste of the tequila. And your palate will grow to tasting these guys and going, wow, what an amazing tequila, to maybe not necessarily wanting to ring the bell all that often. So I do want to say thanks to all the people that have been supporting me through this little tequila journey and doing these videos. I have a lot of fun doing it. I hope everybody has a happy new year. And I do look forward to 2025. I have some amazing interviews coming up into next year with some great brands. And I love being able to promote these tequilas that mean a lot to me, that I've learned about the tradition and the families behind it, and knowing how many people it takes, how many hands go on making a tequila like this or like Ocho and this brand new Pedro Fativo. This is a great tequila it'll be soon coming to your area. And it's just made with a true traditional family process behind it. Six generations of agave farmers come to create this tequila. So, like many others that we've talked about on the show, Correte de Aurora, this is another great new brand that is just bringing phenomenal new tequila all the way back to our brands that have been around a long time, like El Tecaleño, which is a phenomenal high proof and a great tequila made in the lowlands, in the town of Tequila with highland agaves, and a great family tradition. So please keep your mind open to trying the phenomenal traditional tequilas that are out there, and have a great celebration over New Year's. And I hope you enjoy a lot of tequila. Thanks for tuning in.